Like this effect, although he often gets killed before you get to take advantage of it. Looks very stern, doesn't he? I've played him in a red run deck before, which... Yeah, that is quite beautiful. Definitely a cut above. I like the sky behind him. Quite like his armour actually, it's quite stylish, isn't it? Anyway, I think that one's better than the standard version. Blaze Guardian I like, not so much for the art, although I do actually like the shield, and that's a really nice shield. I wouldn't mind having a shield like that if I was a sort of character in a game. But really, really good in versus arena. In fact, in versus arena, I used to play. If I was lucky enough to be offered it, I'd always pick Empire because that was my best track record playing Empire in versus arena. And I used to always look for this card because it was just so good if you managed to craft a few guards with it. I know it's very random versus arena what you get offered, but if you can get a few guards with it, you can get good value. Cast into time. Yeah, I'm not a great fan of the art on this. It's all right. I know it's a very useful card. And yeah, again, I'm not really a fan of this effect that's taken over the art. So I think the standard art's better than that version. That's just my opinion. Maybe some of you prefer the premium. I suppose the sky is quite pretty, isn't it? Never going to be happy when I see this out on board because it means a multi-support deck, which can be a bit frustrating to deal with. She looks very somber, doesn't she? So really, you've only really got the sort of green sort of effect going on here on the premium. It's quite relaxing to look at, I suppose, so I think the premium is a little bit of a cut above, but they could have probably done a little bit more with her. She doesn't seem to have any effects on her at all. Chanter. Very slow, but fun when you can get him to go off. I suppose the colours are a bit muted for my taste, though. But that's a really lovely premium. His staff glowing and then the power coming from his hands. And that's a lot more atmospheric, isn't it? That's lovely. Again, never happy to have this guy out on board. I always have to prioritise getting rid of him because some people don't get their support value. I mean, even though it's random, you still don't want them getting, if it's clearly a support build, you don't really want them getting any advantage. It's got big fangs, isn't it? I haven't just noticed his big fangs. It's quite a lovely effect on his item, isn't it? On his weapon. I'd say that's probably better than the standard version. I always get annoyed when this comes out. One, because whenever I've bothered to play it, it always clogs my hand early. In fact, I remember one game where I got 3 blooming Divine Fervours handed to me, and I couldn't play for ages and lost because I didn't get it. Had lots of cheap creatures as well, so particularly galling. So yeah, a little bit annoyed. I think supports know I'm not really a fan of them. Well, if you're Training Grounds or Thieves' Den, I'm a fan of you, but. And I suppose you could argue what's the gem one that makes I'm having a mental blank. The gem that makes your creatures buffed when something dies. Black Soul Gem. Those are the 3 supports that I actually think are okay, quite like. The rest of them know I don't like them. So when I have occasionally played them, a friend said, "Oh, you try this deck," and then it's got these supports in it. They'd like to stitch me up by appearing in my hand and clogging it, don't they? Anyway, that's a really lovely effect on that sort of weapon, isn't it? So that's a massive cut above the standard version of Fervor. And this was from I think it was from a Grand Melee. Not the most practical armour again, is it, that she's wearing? But quite a beautiful effect. That's definitely better than the just the standard Divine Fervour, but I think actually if I had to choose between this and that, I think that just about wins. I just like the effect around the weapon, really. Bodyguard is generally only played in Versus Arena, where you're assigned random cards and have to build a deck around them. Not a great fan of the art here, I just think it's a bit dark and dingy. Yeah, he does have scary eyes in that though, so that, and the weapon does look pretty cool there, doesn't it? So I'd say that's way better than the standard art, even though it's still a little bit on the dark side for my liking. Ebonheart Oracle, I know she's one of Schwartz's favourites. Very lovely art. It's got nice hair and a nice outfit, which I know isn't a good reason to like a card, is it? But I can't help being girly way and liking fashion stuff. Anyway, I really like the art on that. However, when you see this, and it's just so darn beautiful. That's pretty hypnotic as well. Oh dear, I can see another card going on my hypnotic cards list. Yeah, so I like both of them. It's a tough one, but I'd say the premium in this case is I prefer to the standard. This is a bloomin' scary card because of the buffs that it can do if you can pull it off. Wish the background wasn't so bloomin' miserable. I'd like it to be a nice, either a nice sunset or a sunny day, because I don't really like it when it's really, really muted colours. But the art's decent. And you've got definitely more of a sense of movement with the premium. The only thing I would say though, I mean, I like the effect in the background. I like the fact her hair's sort of moving as if they're in motion, but the horse is looking quite faded compared to the standard art, so I think there's more definition on there. I prefer the standard version. It's a very fun effect here. The art's not the most exciting, but then you can't have exciting art and everything, can you? I do like the way the banners are moving in the breeze. Fluttering, I suppose. And actually the effect is making the character stand out that bit more. It's like he jumps into the foreground. Oh, hello, Midnight. So Midnight's come over, he wants a bit of fussing. Good boy. Anyway, yeah, that's a big improvement on the standard, isn't it? I wish I had the alt version of this because it's very beautiful. If I see it out on ladder when I'm playing, I'll try and grab some footage of it so I can maybe insert it, or if not, put it on a video on its own. But at the moment, obviously I don't own that art. It must have been something that was offered pre me joining the game. I like the sense of movement on this one. And that is very, very atmospheric. It looks like he's like flying through the air, so I think I prefer that version. Hopefully at some point before season ends I'll see somebody playing him and I'll be able to capture the alt version on film, because I sadly don't have it. I quite like the art around this one because purely the combination of the colours on it, really. And again, this is a case where you've got the background effects making the character stand out that bit much more, so definitely an improvement on the standard version there. And there was a recent video by Thin White Duke which was very entertaining, where he sort of plays a deck based around this card and gets lots of value out of the number of Daedra that get transformed and what he gets, so that's quite entertaining. So I tend to think of him when I think of this card. Hero of Anvor, not the most exciting card and not the most exciting art, is it really? However, it does feel good when you manage to get him out. I mean, I've only really played him in Versus Arena when he was part of a random deck. When you can get him out cheap, it does feel good. But there's not a huge amount of interest going on in this premium, is there? When you look at the fact that before the game was announced to be shutting down, if you wanted to craft this, it's a heck of a lot of extra gems just for something that's, well, you just got a little bit of a glint on his armour and a little bit of light in the background, so it's not really worth it in my opinion. I actually saw somebody it would be December 2024 season, playing this on ladder, and I thought hats off to them for playing it because you very rarely see it. It might have been in was it a Redder and Imperial tribal deck, I think. Anyway, I respected them for playing it. That is quite atmospheric. However, I think because it makes the art look a little bit faded, I prefer that version just because the art's more defined on it. Now I have seen someone play this on ladder as well, which was a surprise. A lot of people think it's not a very good card, but I suppose if you can time it right, it can be a big threat. The art on it's okay. I think Midnight's coming over, he wants to cuddle, so I'm just going to have to move a few bits around. Coming over. So they've got their battering ram there. There's not a huge amount of interest on the card though, apart from the battering ram. I was expecting there to be a bit more for a premium. There's very little going on, is there? Yeah, I think I prefer that. I feel like they might as well have not bothered to put any effects on that. It was pretty much boring, wasn't it? I like this guy. He doesn't get played much. I played him in my Brilliant Experiment deck, which was about 2 or 3 years ago now. It was one of my dumb decks, and basically the idea of it was to Brilliant Experiment as many Viveks as you could, and then pair him with something that could take the damage for him. So I used to try and pair him with this, or with put him on the board when Lydia was there. It was quite funny. I did manage to get quite a few Viveks copied, but that was in the days before I was recording, of course, so I don't have it on film. Yeah, I do like the premium that a little bit better because you've got, again, he stands out more. It's almost like he jumps out of the card because the light behind him just gives him that bit of extra definition. I know he's not loved very much on ladder, but he's good fun to play. One of the less good-looking dragons, but quite useful. I've seen people play this in a monk goblin deck before. It's quite good for buffing their goblin up when it gives everything -1. I wish it gave -1/-1 though, rather than just -1 on the hit power. Yeah, I think that version's a little bit better than the standard. I do like the art on this. Always annoyed when an opponent gets it because they get 3 health back, which is quite a lot. But I do like the art on this. And I do think I think I got the premium. I don't remember crafting that. I think I might have just got it randomly in some event wins or something. I don't remember crafting it. But I actually do. I think that's a cut above the standard version. I like the effect in the background. It's quite subtle. But again, the way that the light is done there, it just makes him stand out on the card. It's almost like a 3D effect. The longer you stare at it, the more he seems to stand out on the card. It's almost like a 3D effect, so I really like that. I did do a Quama deck about 3 years ago. It was good fun. Unfortunately, there's not enough of them to make it really worthwhile. But it's fun to have a play with. Oh look, she's dribbling. I actually prefer the standard version on that. I don't mind it the fact she's dribbling. That's kind of amusing, but yeah, I think I just prefer the standard version. Colours just look a bit more vivid on it. I know it's the same thing, but again, sometimes when you have effects put on a card, it makes it look more faded than it is. Really like the colour scheme on this, and actually he's got quite a nice outfit on, hasn't he? I mean, if you were a character in TESL, that would be quite a nice outfit to wear, I imagine. Oh, that's really, really beautiful and quite hypnotic. So I think that's another one I'll go on my hypnotic cards list, although in what order, who's the most hypnotic, who knows. I'll have to do like a countdown. I could just stare at that for ages, so... Yeah, I really like that. I think that's... Yeah, I like both versions of the card, but that one is a cut above, and I'm going to have to stop staring at it, otherwise I'm going to go into hypnotic trance, which would be nice and relaxing for me, but then I won't help me get these videos finished, will it? I'm determined to get all this art preserved for, so that it's not lost forever. I think there's an alt art version of this, if I remember rightly. Looks a bit stern, doesn't she? To be honest, I'm not really that bothered about the art. I think on either of these, it's not that exciting. But I think I prefer the standard just because I find the effect on the sword. I do like the effects on weapons, but that just the way that it's done there, it's a little bit insipid to my mind. Oh, here we are. Here's the art version. I wasn't certain if I had it or not. I do prefer this. I prefer it because you've got the snow effect, obviously, and the wind, and the hair is sort of rippling in the wind. I know that one got repeated a few times in various gauntlets over the years, so probably most people have it. Lydia's great fun to play as a card. It's always a good one to delay your opponent. That's definitely a big improvement on the... I like the art on the standard one, but I think this one is... She just stands out that bit more because of the light behind her. And again, it's lovely to see that effect on the weapon as well. Good old Lydia. Although I don't always think that when the opponent's playing her rather than me. I always found this card a little bit annoying because the opponent just uses it to nick one of your things and then they can get rid of it. And sometimes if they get a card that's got a last gasp ability and they kill it, they get the benefit of that as well, so which is particularly annoying. But I mean, the art on it's not that great, is it? I mean, the premium's better, but it's just, yeah, I'm just not a great fan of the art on it. I do like this Khajiit. I mean, obviously, when you see it on board, you want to get it killed as quickly as possible. I think he's got a nice outfit on, and he also has a nice effect. And I like the sort of effect in the background there. So the premium is just a little bit that cut above. And he does stand out more again on there. I think it's the effect of the light behind him. Just with these Willpower cards, they seem to have got the light and the balance between the premium and the base art right, in my opinion. I really like Exemplar in Versus Arena. Very, very useful card. That is a cut above compared to the standard, isn't it? I just think you've got the light of the weapon, you've got the devastation of the battlefield in the background. Staple in most people's decks. I do know a couple of players who sometimes won't run it, they'd rather have creatures, but that's quite rare. I mean, while the art and it's nothing exciting, I do quite like the premium effect on there. I do prefer this version though, it's just got more going on visually. Again, that was from an event by... Oh, it was Grand Melee up early. That must have been... So it was been available for a long period of time, but I don't think I got that card until maybe my second year playing TESL, so it would have been like 2021, so I think it might have even been in a Grand Melee again. And luckily, because I joined TESL quite late in 2020, luckily they were still a bit more active in rotating the cards they had on events rather than just putting the same ones up all the time, which they do now, of course. They just keep repeating the same handful of cards, whereas when I first joined, there was still quite a decent sized community, and they tended to have a lot more variety of cards in events. It's okay, this card, nothing special with the art, but that really does elevate it. And again, the effects in the background as well as on the weapon, he really stands out against the background there, so that's really, really good. I like that. Funny how a card can look quite nondescript and then suddenly when they get it right, the premium just makes it look so much better. Not a great fan of the art here, but I do like this card in Versus Arena. It's very, very useful. Yeah, they do tend to stand out a bit more on the card than with the snow effect on there. So I'd say that's better than the standard. I used to, whenever I got the opportunity in Empire, I used to craft that, because often when I was doing Versus Arena, if I was lucky enough to get Empire, I could generally win. Oh, sorry, Midnight. He just wants a bit of attention. I could generally win with Empire in Versus Arena, and I used to pick as many guards as I could, and that would always help delay the opponent. Plus, it was just good defense anyway. I do like Spiteful Balmora. Often that comes out and there isn't a creature. If you depending on how much draw you've got, you might want to play him even without getting the effect. But I like the thwack sound he makes when he comes out. I think it says "Onerous insect, you dare face me" or something along those lines. He just sounds so vindictive, doesn't he? It's funny. Yeah, he definitely stands out more in the premium version. He's got scary eyes, doesn't he? Yeah, I do quite like that. And I suppose quite ironic for being a Daedra, he can actually kill an Oblivion Gate if need be. I used to play him with, I mean, I've never really, I haven't really played Invade apart from, I think I played it against in the solo arena to get through the Invade quest that everyone's forced to do when they join as a player. But I play him, I know he gets played in Invade decks, but I play him in non-Invade decks. Trusted Bristleback. This card I kind of consider it ill-fated, because whenever I used to play with it, admittedly I've only ever played with it in either solo or versus arena, whenever I did I'd get the most terrible draws, so to me this is like one of your bad luck Albatross style cards. I do like the premium version, that's pretty, but it's a bad luck card as far as I'm concerned. Here is one of our gods of Vivek, a very, very fun card to play. The number of times I've had decks where I've been able to copy him, and then it really, it really frustrates the opponent. They take him down, and then I get another one. It's just a funny hand. I remember there's one particular game I was watching when I was playing against this taunter, and I wasn't recording, but they kept taunting me a lot, and I just thought, right. I think I had my Naughty Tribunal deck out, and I thought, right, I'll just hit record for the last few bits of the game because it was getting quite tight, and I got 3 effects, and it was just funny because they were taunting me. I managed to put him out there. They didn't have any removal by that stage, they put up a really big board, and I had some silence to get past it, and then I was able to kill them with Vivek. That was quite funny. But I had another Vivek sitting in the hand as well, and I was tempted. I thought, well, I can either play the third Vivek to wind them up, but then I could potentially lose the game if they came up with a javelin or something, I suppose, or some kind of manoeuvre. But anyway, I went for the safe option and just killed them. But it was a very fun moment. It's very, very beautiful, the premium version. I really like this card. I played it in my naughty tribunal. I used to use it to... Often I'd resummon Death Priests so that people's threats would be taken out. I also used to use it to remove guards, so like if someone put a Dark Seducer down and I was about to kill the opponent, I'd just use it to remove the guard and go in face and win. So very, very fun card. And that is definitely going to go on the hypnotic card list because it's very beautiful and I could just stare at it for ages. Where it will place in the top 10, or if it's a top 10, it might even be a top 20, I don't know. Who knows, but very beautiful. Not a great fan of the art on Worldly Wanderer. I mean, it's a very useful card to give people who are playing multi-support decks. It's just the background a bit faded for my liking. That is an improvement, I have to admit. You got the movement on his clothing. The sun coming over the mountains behind him. I just wish the mountains were a bit more defined because it just looks just a bit faded on both versions, really. But that is a big improvement, the premium version. Apex Wolf. Now this brings back nostalgia. When I was in the middle tier, I used to see him played quite a lot, and I didn't have him, of course, so I was absolutely desperate to get the Frostmark collection. And I think that was the collection where I also got a lovely, beautiful green card back. Can't remember for sure, but I was really desperate to have Apex Wolf. And then when I did finally get him, I mean, that is really stunning. That is lovely, isn't it? He really stands out against the background. I've not really played him that much since I got him. I think I played him a little bit, but maybe he just kept being removed and I just moved on from that. But really, really stunning premium there. Lovely. I do sometimes see Bandit Ringleader in Pilfer decks, I suppose, as a later game option. It's quite good for card draw. Not played a massive amount. I wish the colours were a little bit more bright, but then my taste tends to always be towards the more colourful. That is a very lovely premium though. And again, I think she really does stand out in the foreground. So that's a big improvement on the baseline card. Feed, obviously there's only one copy of Feed you don't actually have an alt or a premium version of it. Well, I'm not aware of an alt version of it. I suppose this is a premium, isn't it? I should look at it a bit more closely. I don't really play it that much. I think I played it maybe when I was a newbie and it was like one of the few bits of removal I had. And I think I must have got it maybe... It's a promotional card, so I probably got it on like a daily login reward or something. It's quite good fun, isn't it? I like the dinosaurs. Yeah, I like it, but I mean it's quite expensive for removal. I suppose it's like an alternative non-invade version to Crisis Begins. Now I always think if there's some very beautiful ladies in TESL, I always think that Golden Saint is one of them. I mean that's a really... Okay, it's not a practical outfit for warfare, is it? Let's face facts. All these ladies with their midriffs exposed, waiting to be skewered. But very, very beautiful card. Even when it gets played against me and the opponents manage to get full value from it. it's still a very impressive card. So I like, obviously I like the baseline card, the art on it a lot. This is really lovely as well. To the point that, I mean, even when I did get the equally gorgeous, that one's equally gorgeous, that was, I think it was on another Grand Melee as a reward. It's very hard for me to put just 3 of those in there when the other one's so lovely as well, so quite often I might play maybe one of that and 2 of the other ones. I think I slightly prefer the art on the other one, but this is still very, very beautiful. Gets played a lot by control decks. Not very exciting art though, is it? That's a bit better. I suppose you've got a fluidity to the card. I'd say that's a step above the standard, but still not a great fan of the art. I do actually prefer the alt art version. I think obviously there's a lot more flames in it. You got a sense of the devastation. So I do prefer that version, definitely. Again, I think that was in a fairly early event. I think I might have got it probably in a Grand Melee fairly early on in my TESL career. It's not really been rotated in for the last 18 months at all, but I think so it was fairly early on I might have got that. Commander's very, very good in conscription, but also just very good in any decks where you want a bit of buff. People like to resummon her. I like the light effect at the back. Yeah, that's quite relaxing to look at. I think that is, although I wish that she wasn't a bit more obscured here with that smoke at the front, but I do like that premium, so I think it's slightly better than the base art. This one doesn't get much love on ladder, but it's very good in versus arena. Got pretty big claws, isn't it? I used to play it occasionally, but I think it's back when I was in my first year or two of TESL. I used to play it occasionally just for a big guard. Also, I had quite a limited collection at the time, so you make do with what you've got, don't you? Really. I do like the premium version here. It's quite relaxing. With the leaves falling in the background. This one I've only really played in versus arena. The art's okay on it, but it's a bit dark for my taste in the background, and also, yeah, it's just a bit of a dingy colours. I prefer a set of vibrant colours. Goodness me, that's a scary set of eyes, isn't it? Yeah, that's definitely a cut above the standard. Oh my goodness, it's just purely with those scary eyes. Pretty scary. Let's just click off it before it happens again. Thaden, he's got a bit of a weird stance that he's doing there, hasn't he? But the art on it's okay. It's not really my cup of tea, but I have to say I do have a little bit of affection for this card. That's a beautiful effect around him, isn't it? One of the reasons I'm pretty fond of this card is that when the first time I was going for, it would be top 100, the first time I went for that, which would be December 2023, I was playing a Guildsworn deck that Divisa AZZ had given me, and I'd adapted it to my own playstyle because I've always tended to draw high enough decks come out back to front, and so I adapted it to my playstyle just to bring the curve down a bit, just so I wouldn't end up bricking every time I tried to play it. And I remember there was a match where Thaden, the draw from him, won me the match. It was a very long match against a very tough opponent. And it was Thaden that actually swung the match because I was able to keep that dominance and get the draw power from him. Always, so I'm just a bit hoarse from all the talking. Always annoying seeing this on that, although it's a staple in Invade decks. Not a great fan of the art. It's not great, is it? It's very good removal when you're playing in Versus Arena when you have very little removal options offered to you. So I will play it there just purely to have some removal. And there are people who will play it just for removal when they are running these colours. And that is an improvement on the standard version. I quite like the red effect on the weapon. Mechanical Heart is a very fun card. Occasionally you'll see it on ladder, but it's not often played. I think I prefer the standard version just because the art's more defined on it. And unfortunately, there are other content creators who have actually captured the effect of Mechanical Heart on film, so at least that's preserved somewhere. There's so many cards that I'd love to be able to have their effects captured on camera, but it's a matter of time, isn't it? We've only got a couple of weeks left, and I'm going to be playing in a farewell TESL tournament towards the end of the month, so the time's kind of running out for extra little TESL projects, particularly of work being so heavy at the moment. I do like the art on Umbra, particularly. I think that's much better than the standard version. I like the fact it goes violence at the start of every round before it attacks something, but it's a bit of a dumb card. It often attacks something of lethal, which and then you kind of lose the value on it really. But it's a fun card, but not one I generally play because you've got no control over what it attacks. Very beautiful dragon, very useful card for people. I like the art on that. However, when you see this, again, this is a good example of the effects behind the main focus of the card being an enhancement, because it's almost like it jumps out the card at you because it feels creates a sense of distance and perspective, and it looks like it's about to fly out the card at you. So that's a very, very beautiful premium. Even in decks that don't need, which aren't dragon decks, I'll sometimes put it in just because it's beautiful. This is always very fun. I think Workinator did a whole sort of wolf cage video. It's quite an old video of theirs, but I think they did a wolf cage video a few years ago. It was very entertaining. I mean, it's pretty expensive for what it is, but it's fun. Oh, they look a bit sad in there, don't they, while it's raining? Premium is probably better. Well, I think it is better than the standard one. This can be a bit of an annoying card. I'm not a fan of the art particularly. People running Unite will often run it, and some control people just run it just purely because they want to eliminate a threat. So yes, that's better than the standard version of it, but it's still not particularly exciting to look at, is it? Now this one, very good in Versus Arena. Occasionally you see her played in on ladder, but not often. Does give very good reach. This is definitely going to have to go in the hypnotic list, because look at that. To somebody who loves fire and is a pyromaniac at heart, I could sit and gaze at that for ages. So I think that could be like a form of TESL stress relief to watch that. Oh, it's very hard to click off of it, isn't it? Very, very beautiful indeed. So no contest at all between the standard version and that. That just romps away and takes the win, doesn't it, in terms of beauty. This is such an annoying card, and particularly it's an alliance card, isn't it? Whenever I used to sort of open alliance packs, I always seem to get the wretched thing. It's a pain when you're playing against it and someone. I mean, occasionally you do get people playing it for a laugh or for the memes. I'm not quite sure which, or just to be annoying. It's a pain when you get it, because you're continually having to sort of trade it backwards and forwards. Admittedly, the premium is quite nice in terms of the art. Got the flickering candle and as well as the light, but it's a pain in the butt, that card. Very, very fun card, particularly the visual that comes with it if you manage to win the game with him, where you have a big castle slammed down on the board. He does stand out more against the background again because of the way the lighting's been done. So I'll say that's the better version. Deep in thought, isn't he? Now, not many people play this one, but I do occasionally see people, if they're doing a tribal deck, playing him. Not the most exciting art going, is it? That does make it a lot better because you've got the weather effects. I think it's meant to be like a lightning storm because that's kind of lighting up every now and again in the background on the banner. So I'd say that's way better than the standard version. I think that actually enhances it, the premium effects. Not one of the better legendaries, to be fair. But if you're running a tribal Imperial deck, which not many people seem to do, to be honest, it'd be more Imperial tribal on ladder, but not many people seem to play it anyway. It's okay, but it's nothing special, and the art's pretty boring, isn't it? That's alright, I suppose. It's nothing, again, nothing very exciting. When you look at how much it would have cost in gems before the game was announced as closing, then definitely not worth it. This one I've played mainly in versus arena. It's very useful for removal, but also to give, if you manage to get a decent lane up, it's good for giving them all a buff. I think the art is okay on it, nothing particularly outstanding, but the premium does have some nice effects like the background detail and the light on the stairs. Now, this one's often played in versus arena as well. Again, not very practical outfit for fighting, is it? The art in it's okay, but that definitely does elevate it because you've got a lot more going on with the lighting and the flame whip, and she seems to jump out more, I think, because of the smoke in the background. So that's a big cut above the standard version. So that's one where the premium is actually way better. This is funny. I know that I think Thin White Duke has experimented with this on in a few videos. I think if it's one video or two, I can't remember, but has experimented with it. It's great fun. I just wish the art was a little bit more interesting on it. Even the art on that's not, I mean, it's okay. It's nothing thrilling. This is always a bit of an annoying one. I've seen it played in invade decks, but also non-invade decks. It's always a bit annoying because nobody wants to give their opponent health, do they? And it's quite hard to kill as well. But again, when you think about it being a premium and how many gems it would have cost before the game was announced to be closing, there's not a huge amount of extra interest going on here, is there? You've got a little bit of smoke in the background, a lit up weapon. It's quite a lazy premium, really. Not worth that amount of gems. This lady's always a bit of a pain when she comes out, because I know it's a creature 3 or less, but you can get some decent creatures for that. Plus you have to address her quite quickly, and she's quite hard to kill, isn't she? I do like the art on it though. I mean, again, she's not wearing the most practical armour going, but I do like the art on it. And there's another case of the effects in the background. They actually make her really stand out even more. She looks like she means business, doesn't she? So Dawn's Wrath, it's a very, very useful card. I suppose I'm less of a fan of the art, 'cause again it's quite muted colours and that really. And as an action, I was always less likely to craft premium actions because I just felt, well, you only get a few seconds of the effect. But that is quite an attractive premium effect there. So definitely an improvement on the standard base card. Queen's Captain, always a bit annoying when it's in a Waxwane deck because you just know they're going to get double value out of her with their Moongate. The art on it's okay, but nothing special. And actually I prefer the standard card for this. I just think, okay, you got a bit of stuff coming out of her mouth. And you've got a bit of light in the background, but I just think the colours are more vivid on the... They just come across more vivid because I suppose here the effects are almost a bit of a distraction from the art. So I think I prefer the standard version for this card. I do find Shrine Guardian fun card to play. And although a lot of the Daedra cards are pretty ugly, the art on that's actually okay. He looks suitably sinister, doesn't he? And he sounds quite sarcastic with his line as well, doesn't he? I suppose I think of Wergenator a bit, because I think he did do a deck with Shrine Guardian a few years back. He was talking about how dodgy the line was in it, I think. But yeah, it's a fun card, and the art on the premium is definitely a step up from the... Just because he's more defined with a background. It's funny how some premium effects can really add to the art and others just detract from it. Very, very expensive action. The art on it's okay, but it really is elevated when you see this. Very, very beautiful fire effect. And yes, he does stand out a bit more. He seems to pop out of the card a bit more by being surrounded by that effect. So I'd say that's definitely a big improvement on the baseline card. And Takora, I used to see him a fair bit when I first started in TESL in 2020. I think because there was a lot wider player base then, and you'd have more people playing control decks and delaying just to get their Manticora out. However, you don't see him that often nowadays. I do quite like that version. It's quite atmospheric, and he does seem to pop out into the foreground of the card more, just from having the lights behind him. Yeah, I do quite like that. Mirac, always a bit annoying, but you always know if someone's playing Willpower, you know they're going to have Mirac in their hand, or at least it's in their deck. So at least you can plan for him. And then if you know someone's likely to get it, particularly when you're getting into late game, it's then that sort of cold war of wills, isn't it? As to you try and bait them out to take something you don't mind them taking, and then while keeping back your real finishers so that he doesn't steal it. Oh, of course, some people will resummon him so that he does get more than one thing, but thankfully, not everyone. And in terms of the premium version, well, the art on them is both very good actually. And by the way, he's got quite a nice outfit. If you were like a guy and you went into TESL and became a character in the game, would you like to wear that outfit? I kind of wonder. Like his mask, nice and creepy. Like the effect in the background, so yes. I think I just about... I mean, I like both versions, so I like the premium best, obviously. And then we've got Carl, as I call him. That's my nickname for him. He's a big dragon. Not the most good-looking dragon. I mean, obviously the most handsome of dragons is like Odahviing, really. but you've got Carl, and he's very, very useful. To the point that sometimes he gets played in non-dragon decks as well, just for a big guard. So I think you probably hear some ripping sound in the background. I think it's midnight again. Anyway, I think I prefer the standard version of Carl to the to that version. It's just a little bit. I don't know. I think again the effects there are making the colours in the card look a little bit more insipid. So I just prefer the standard version of Carl. Anyway, that concludes the Willpower section of the Celebrating TESL's Beautiful Card Art series. If you've got time, let me know what your favourite Willpower cards are in the comments below. So now I've got left Endurance, the multi-attribute cards, and Neutral. I've already done a separate video just on the card backs, just because I wanted to preserve them as well, as some of those are truly beautiful. So I'll be working on Endurance next. And until next time, may you walk on warm sands.
They're bleeding. Don't let up. For Skyrim!
Just doing business.
Khajiit must stay out of sight. They won't miss this.
Get them! Die, interloper!
I will end you.
Cowardly skeevers! For Skyrim!
Nicely done.
You
Thank
will
you.
not be victorious!
Teach you to mess with me.
Khajiit must stay out of sight. They won't miss this.
Chaos take you.
Cowardly skeevers!
I could use a little help here.
May the fates smile on Khajiit.
Death to the tribunal's lackeys.
All can be had for the right price.
Just doing business.
You will not be victorious!
Chaos take you.
May my arrows herald the era of myrrh. For Queen Iron.
That's worth knowing now, isn't it? Nicely done.
This one thanks you.
Your time is at an end. Spill their blood.
I bring reinforcements.